Hi everyone, welcome to Death Row Stories. Today I'm taking you out of the US. This winter I spent some time in Europe where only one country still executes its citizens, Belarus. Even Russia stopped doing this, at least on paper. But let's talk about the European Union. Among its 27 members, Latvia is the last one that executed someone. Two people, actually. It was in 1996. They were convicted of murder, but we don't have much information about them. We don't even know who was the last one to be killed. But before it was abolished, the death penalty has been in Europe for ages. Let me take you to 5 different places in 4 different periods of time when it was still in place. And I also wondered how it is remembered. The United States never invented the death penalty. They imported it from here, from Europe, where it's been used for ages. Today it doesn't exist anymore here in Europe, but it's been used until pretty recent times. And I'm going to take you to different places to give you a few examples. Today I'm in Strasbourg, city of the east of France in Alsace, and in the Middle Age it was part of what would become in the future Germany. Not only the death penalty was in the institutions, but torture was also part of the local laws. I guess they thought it would be deterrent against crime, and people were tortured on this bridge in front of me. So it says here that during the Middle Age, the people who were condemned to the death penalty because they had killed a parent or a child were locked in a cage and drowned from this bridge. Wow. We're going to meet someone who's going to tell us more about this incredible story. I'm with Sylviane Vieillard, who's a local guide here.
Hello. It's a very special and very old bridge. Depending of the torture and the punishment in the Middle Age, dictated by a constitution, it was in 1411, something like this. This bridge was called the torture bridge first. It was a simple footbridge in wood, and here were exposed the criminals, the persons who committed offenses against their child, the adulterine, for example, but also the blasphemer. They were punished by being first exposed on the bridge, and then it was a terrible punishment. The poor people were sewed in a linen bag and thrown into the water. They couldn't swim, of course. At this time, it was a sewer. It was not very clean, and there were rests of animal in the water. The water was not cold but frozen, and it was a terrible, terrible death. That was a show for the people, of course, to see the drowning of the people.
So they were put in a basket or in a bag?
Or you had a lot of different ways to clothe them, or into a bag first and thrown into the water, or into a cage, that was sometimes a cage, or a basket. And this basket was put in the water 2 minutes if the punishment was not too heavy, and longer if the punishment was heavier.
Why did they do that?
That was the law written in the constitution. That was the different rules to punish the criminals or the thief or the adulterine, blasphemer. Some witch, women convicted to be a witch were punished too. And if they died into the water, they were recognized to be innocent. And if they escaped from the water, they were recognized to be really a witch and then killed. It was terrible. You had a lot of sentences with a lot of imagination to put. Sometimes you have also a rocking board, a sort of rocking board from the bridge to throw the people into the water also.
How long did that last?
From the early 15th century until the 17th century, the laws were this one.
Here, was it French or was it German?
That was a part of the Holy Roman Empire. Holy Roman German Empire, that is important. That was just an independent republic. And under the laws of Städtmeister, that was the name of the public magistrate. And no, it was more German than French at this time.
Do local people still remember this past today?
Today, no, they don't. They don't know, for example, why this bridge is called the Torture Bridge. That was the first name in German, Schinderbrücke.
And do people here miss the death penalty here?
I don't think so. Je ne pense pas. No, I don't think so.
It's funny how this question cannot be taken seriously here. Witch hunts made thousands of victims in Europe during about 300 years, and it was exported to the United States. It happened in so many villages. Let me take you to one of them in the same region and see if the victims are remembered. I'm in Münster, a little French village known for its cheese in the Alsace region, and in this village 40 people were executed. 3 of them were children under 10. Some of them were men, but most of them were women. They were accused of being witches, and it's in this building behind me that those witch trials unfold. Most of the time they were sentenced to death. Burning at the stake was the most common form of execution at that time, and if they didn't want to be burnt alive, they could cooperate and denounce other witches and repent. In that case, they were beheaded and then burned. Those trials took place in the 16th and 17th centuries, and it's pretty sad because there's not even a memorial marker here to remember these people. Let's move just 50 miles south and jump to the 20th century. Same here, nothing would suggest that a public execution once took place on this square. I'm in France, in the city of Belfort, at the edge of the country next to Switzerland today. The city is known for its resistance against the Germans in 1870 and 1871. And it's known for a lion, a sculpture of a lion that was made by the French artist Bartholdi, who also made the Statue of Liberty. And this lion is honoring this resistance of Belfort. I must say that I don't think it's a masterpiece, and I really like the Statue of Liberty better. But here we are. The lion is just over there, and on this square took place the last execution in the city. It was in 1905, and believe it or not, 10,000 people came here to see that execution. That's what I read. I don't know how 10,000 people can even stand on that square. I guess it was wider at that time, but they didn't want to miss this show, if I can say, because executions were not that common at that time. It was not like Texas today. The previous execution in the area had taken place 50 years before, and no one wanted to miss that. They were insulting the guy, and he was guillotined. Here, his name was Posey, and he had been found guilty of a murder the year before. The guillotine came by train from Paris for this special event. That's a little story I thought would be interesting. Executions during wartime are pretty common, but the one I discovered here is really unusual. I'm in the Champagne region where they make this awesome wine. I'm in the military cemetery of Sillery. In this region, the Germans and the French have been fighting for years during World War I. The monument behind me is very Art Deco. What it says is that the 12,000 soldiers who are buried here fought against the Germans. And on each of these graves, it says that these guys died for France. But that's not always true. Look at that grave here. His name was Louis Udu. It says mort pour la France, meaning that he died for France in 1916. And I'm going to tell you his story. This guy didn't die on a battlefield. He was executed by the French army. Why? Because he didn't want to fight. He just wanted to be with his girlfriend. And at that time, people who deserted the army were executed as an example. It says he died for France, but he didn't die for France, that's for sure. He was killed by France. So for whom did he die? I don't know, not for Germany. But today he's with the other soldiers because I guess he's still considered a victim of this horrible war. May he rest in peace, and may also all the other soldiers who fought rest in peace. This itinerary is very subjective, guided by my own travels rather than a rational route to illustrate how executions were happening here. But let's go to the south of France and focus on another story that took place during the war, the Second World War this time. I'm in a little city called La Londe-les-Maures in the southeast of France, in the Var department. I came here to tell you a death row story that took place in this village. We often think that Europe doesn't have death row stories, but they do. Here's the story. It starts at the top of this bridge where there's a special monument paying a tribute to 3 people who died during World War II here. There's a name here, the name of a guy called Louis Buisson. This guy was shot here. I'm going to tell you his story. In August 1944, the Germans were in a pretty bad situation, but they were still controlling this part of France. D-Day had taken place pretty far away from here in Normandy 2 months before, and some US and French troops were also coming here through the south coast of France. And the Germans were pretty worried, and they were retrieving from here. They were leaving the region, and to slow down the Allies, they were destroying all the bridges behind them. So Louis Buisson came under that bridge, just like me, and he tried to defuse some explosives that were left here by the Germans. They wanted to destroy all the bridges behind them. They were fleeing, they were escaping, they were retrieving from the region. But unfortunately, some troops saw him. He tried to run away, but they did catch him in the end, and they took him to the city center, and they shot him with a bullet behind his head. When Louis Buisson died, he was only 25 years old. Nobody here really knows his name, but he's still remembered through a street that was named after him and through this monument here on that bridge. The Allies were really just a few kilometers from here when he was shot, and the war ended less than a year later. So it's pretty sad that he was shot. Today, Germans and French are friends, so that makes it even sadder that he was shot dead by a German. I just wanted to pay a little tribute to that guy, name him, and remember what he did. I hope you liked my idea of exploring these few sites and taking a bit of distance from the American situation for a change. I've been doing that show for 2 years. That's incredible. My #1 video is my interview with Charles Thompson on Texas death row. He was executed at the end of January 2026. He had an incredible story. It's a 1-hour video. He was captivating.
They told me they were going to try me as an adult for 5 felonies and give me 25 to life. And I was terrified. I was like, oh, man, I'm a 16-year-old kid. I ran. I didn't know what else to do. I was scared.
And where did you go?
To Canada. So I said, let me go to Mexico on vacation. I was offered a job smuggling aliens across the border. I got caught with 17 undocumented illegal aliens when it's 2 to 10 years per person. That's where they told me I couldn't have self-defense because I shot him from behind.
You managed to escape?
Yes.
How can you even?
Everybody's baffled how I did it. In 2018, I asked him to forgive me.
some people say that life imprisonment is worse than death row. Do you think it's true? My number 2 video is called The Woman Who Attended 400 Executions. It was a compelling journey with Gloria Rubach.
And they said, well, how can you talk about these people like they're regular human beings? And I said, well, they are regular human beings. They had a mom and dad, and many of them have kids. I said, I may not want to hang out with them on Saturday night, but I will support their right not to be murdered by the state of Texas.
My number 3 video was also on Texas death row. It was my interview with Tyrone Williams. By the way, he will have a hearing this June.
The jury's asleep. She's missing all of the key things. I don't care where I'm at in this place. My location don't define me. I was told, I have nearly 30 brain lesions, and I'm not even supposed to be walking or talking. A few months ago, I was just diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis. And so that's another battle I'm facing. So, but again, I'm not going to become my diagnosis. I did ultimately have to take her life. I can't undo anything. I can just apologize and hope you accept me.
Do you feel you could and you should have done things differently? Or do you think you had no choice but to kill these two ladies? My number 4 video is called The Singer Who Lost Everything to a Lie. I went to Memphis and met Perry Cobb, who used to perform in Chicago nightclubs.
The whole thing, I guess, was all white. This cell all by itself. I could reach and touch wall to wall when I stretched my hands out like that. And it's worse than any cell that the animals have at the zoo. And they tried to kill me. They destroyed me and my family ties. They destroyed my career.
And can you forgive them one day? My number 5 video is my interview with Pamela Perio. It's a 5-part series. I don't want to say too much, but she's had an incredible life and I think about her very often. If you're following this show on Apple Podcast, consider rating it, especially if you think it deserves 5 stars. It's pretty simple. You need to click on the page of the show and scroll down to the ratings, and you can click write a review. You can share all the good things you think about this show. It won't take you too long and it's very helpful. And please also subscribe on YouTube. It helps other people find the show. Thank you.